Hello, I'm Rachel Iris and welcome back to Turn Towards Love. Do you ever wake up feeling stressed, disconnected, overwhelmed, anxious, or just completely caught up in your thoughts, whether that be thoughts of the past, weighing you down, thoughts of the future, worrying you silly? Perhaps you feel restless in your body, unable to switch off your mind, or like you're constantly trying to let go and you're trying to move forward, but it just seems so difficult, and it feels like you're just carrying so much weight of everything that's happening around you, maybe even to other people as well. Well, if so, then you're not alone. And while many people turn to yoga for flexibility, fitness, or relaxation, the ancient yogis understood that something much deeper was taking place. Yoga was never simply about stretching the body. It was about creating the conditions for clarity, balance, freedom, and inner peace. Yes, we're talking about yoga for these things, but this is the true essence of asana and pranayama, and that is why we're talking about this today. I want to give you a complete understanding of what these things will bring to your life if you bring a consistent practice into your daily life. And one of the primary ways we begin this journey is through asana, the physical practice of yoga. So what is asana? So when most people think of yoga, they think of stretching, flexibility, and physical postures. So the word asana is often translated as posture. So it just means posture. But its original meaning is seat, a stable and comfortable position that prepares us for a deeper state of awareness. If the purpose of yoga is to quiet the distractions of the mind, reveal our true nature, and bring us into the union with self, then asana becomes one of the tools that help us to move in that direction. The postures are not at the destination, they're the preparation for it. So through the practice of asana, the practice of the postures, we begin to remove the physical and mental obstacles, strengthen and regulate the nervous system, and create the conditions for a greater awareness. So the body becomes steadier. So there's no shakiness and there's no unease when the body becomes steady. The breath becomes calmer, regulated. The mind begins to settle. And when the mind begins to settle, something deeper can be revealed. Asana is much more than exercise. It's a bridge between you and your body, a way of observing yourself. Through the postures, we begin to notice where we hold tension, where we resist, where we force, where we avoid, and where we have become disconnected from ourselves. We can do our daily routine and it can be so automatic. And when we're on automation, we're so disconnected from ourselves, which means we're disconnected from the present moment. And the practice invites us to pay attention not only on the mat when we're practicing, but then mindfully throughout the day. So as we move through different postures, parts of the body that may have been dormant for years then can begin to awaken. Physical pathways open, circulation improves, energy begins to flow more freely. Awareness reaches places that may have been neglected for a long time. So you could focus on a part of yourself that maybe you've never focused on before, or maybe for not for a very long time. And then through that attention and breath, and with compassion, the practice becomes an opportunity to reconnect with ourselves and to bring love into every part of our being. The body affects the mind and the mind affects the body. If our thoughts drift into worry or frustration and judgment or distraction during practice, we often notice it's reflected in the body. The breath becomes shallow, the muscles tighten, the posture becomes unstable, and like we can trip and fall. And likewise, when the body is tense and exhausted, overwhelmed, or carrying stress, the mind often follows. So your thoughts become your reality, and your reality becomes your thoughts, basically. This is why the breath is so important. The breath is the bridge between the body and the mind. As movement and breath begin to work together, the nervous system starts to regulate, the body settles, and the mind quietens, and we begin to experience a greater sense of stability, strength, and inner balance. Over time, the body becomes a healthier environment for prana, or life force energy, to flow through freely. Rather than being pulled outward by distraction, our energy can begin to support healing, awareness, and higher purpose. The purpose of asana is not to force the body into shapes. It's not about performance. It's not about comparison. So when you sat there worrying that you can't, do the same posture as everyone around you, it's certainly not about that perfection. And we have to learn to let perfection go. The idea of what we think is perfect can prevent us from moving forward. And we never know what our fullest potential can be because we refuse, because we just don't believe in ourselves enough. But the purpose is actually to cultivate balance, to create that steadiness, and to become fully present with what is in that moment and where we are at. Yoga asks us to meet ourselves exactly where we are, without judgment, without rushing, and without needing to be anywhere other than here. Each posture becomes an opportunity to listen, to notice where tension is being held. Perhaps in the shoulders, maybe you've noticed it in your jaw. That's where I have it a lot, in my jaw. Or your neck, the chest. You could feel tight chest or hips, clicking hips, or the belly. Maybe you have any digestive issues, and instead of fighting what we find, we learn to soften into it. So instead of just being so frustrated about what we're feeling, any conditions or illnesses, we feel that we're able to learn how to soften into that and to breathe into that space and to allow the space to open, to let the body gradually open in its own time. There's no need to force, no need to prove anything, no need to perform, because the moment we become attached to achieving the posture, we begin to lose the deeper purpose of the practice. Asana is not about achieving the posture, it's about discovering yourself within the posture. Sometimes a posture doesn't open the body first, sometimes it opens the heart. And that's what it did for me. And that is why it becomes such a powerful practice. When combined with the breath, awareness, meditation, and a sincere intention, the intention is so important. The physical posture becomes yoga, the movement becomes meditation, and the breath becomes the guide. And the body becomes a doorway into deeper awareness. And this is where real practice begins. Not in how flexible we are, not in how advanced the posture looks, but in the ability to remain present, to observe, to feel, to breathe, and to stay connected to ourselves. We learn that training with sincerity, integrity, and devotion and patience allows us to deepen our relationship with every aspect of who we are. It helps us to embody the physical vehicle that we have been given, to embrace it, to free the breath, to regulate the nervous system. It helps to create the stability needed for a deeper states of awareness to emerge. And through this consistent practice, we begin to move away from that restlessness and agitation and experience greater steadiness, clarity, openness, and peace. the body becomes stronger, the breath becomes freer, and the mind becomes quieter. And perhaps most importantly, we begin to remember that yoga was never about perfecting the body, but coming back to ourselves. So as we begin to practice asana in this way, something interesting starts to happen. We realize that it's not only the postures creating this sense of balance and stability. Throughout the entire practice, there is something else that supports us, something that is with us in every moment, in every sensation, in every moment of awareness, the breath. The breath is constantly reflecting our inner state. When we're anxious, it changes. Have you noticed when you're anxious, stressed, your breath can start to shake? And it's more like a surface level breath because your chest is rising and falling fast. And so it changes. And when we're calm, it also changes because it's slower and deeper and more relaxed. And when we're distracted, it changes again. And it's kind of moving with whatever is happening in front of us because our mind is not on and with our body in the present. It's completely been taken somewhere else by whatever else is distracting us in our environment. But when we become present, it changes once again. And this is why the ancient yogis give such an importance to the breath. Because once the body begins to settle through asana, we are ready to work with something even more subtle. This brings us to the fourth limb of yoga, pranayama. So pranayama is the expansion of life force. Within the yoga tradition, the mind and body are different aspects of the same entity. Within our daily practice of asana, pranayama, and meditation, we are fading the lines of separation so we can experience our body as one unified whole. Pranayama refers to breath. It's often translated as breath control, but its meaning goes much deeper. It means to control the motion of the lungs through practice, affecting the nerves to breathe effectively. Prana means life force energy or virtual energy, and ayama, so pranayama, means expansion or extension or pause. So it expands life force energy. This force exists in all things, animate or inanimate. Through conscious breathing practices, we begin to influence not only the breath, but also the nervous system, the mind, and overall state of being. Its real purpose is spiritual development. Life force is activated in the techniques of pranayama. It's the method to regulation, to go beyond one's normal boundaries or limitations, and to evolve to states of a vibratory energy or higher states if you wish. It strengthens the lungs and balances the nervous system. It influences the flow of the nadis, purifying them, thereby inducing mental stability. So our nervous system is what is in charge, and when it's stressed and when it has trapped energy, it goes out of balance. So feeling a much calmer, stable body and mind. So asana actually comes before pranayama. Kundalini. So we can talk now about Kundalini, and this is when there's a flowing rhythm in the body, when all motions are aligned, increasing the willpower and releasing negative blockages and patterns in the body that are in the way. The aim here is to have that consistent rhythm in the respiratory center, which allows to control the other centers of the body, and then in turn it initiates that coiled up power in the Muladhara called the Kundalini. Here many mystical experiences have taken place, and I'm sure we've all heard about the Kundalini, and that's a process that happens for us to get there, but it's from that consistent practice and that attention and focus in the present moment and the control of all of the breath and the systems in the body to help us to come to that state. when we have irregular breathing, we encounter disruptive rhythms in the brain. So this leads to physical, emotional, mental blocks, stopping us and preventing us from being the person we truly want to be, from having the courage that it takes to move forward in the places that we want to, because we get pulled back by all of these patterns that are habitual and conditioned. And then if our breath is not managed, it turns into that inner conflict, in an imbalanced personality, a disordered lifestyle and disease. And then when we establish regular breathing patterns, it breaks those negative cycles and reverses that process, allowing peace to emerge. It allows you to take back control of overwhelm by controlling the breath, and reestablishes the natural balance of the body and mind. Say if it was chaotic, neurotic energy, which can be formed through unconscious mental patterns and conditioning, this can be used for more joyful, positive, creative outlets. You'll feel nourished, and it contributes to a longer life and a better quality of life. And all of that information to say, the breath is the bridge between the body and the mind. When the breath is disrupted, the mind is often disturbed. And when the breath becomes calm, the mind naturally follows. Pranayama helps us to cultivate greater awareness, vitality, balance, and presence. It teaches us that the quality of our breath often reflects the quality of our inner experience. As awareness of the breath deepens, we naturally begin to withdraw our attention from the constant distractions of the outer world. And that brings us to the next limb of yoga, which will be on the next video. Thank you for watching. I hope this has helped, and may you find a practice that suits you perfectly. And until next time, may you always turn towards love. Thank you for subscribing, liking, and commenting. It really helps me out.